the holy trifecta of getting it earlier, getting it cheaper, and getting it better. That's when a Kickstarter, in my mind, does well. All right, this guy, he's ready to go farming or killing people. I can't tell which exactly. Now, this is interesting. Oh, okay, that's on purpose. I was like, what happened? I was freaking out. That looked terrible. No, but these, oh gosh, I'm gonna lose that forever now. All right, let's go ahead and open this up and get into it. This has been long coming, but we're gonna get it. There we go. I did pre-cut that, so sue me. I'm about to go look for scissors or struggle with a knife or something like that. Check the package. I still always think this is so funny that Awakened Realms always announces what their box is to the world, so that, you know, we're just lucky that the FedEx guy isn't really big into board games. Or he'd be like, you know, I have 27 copies of this. It's so weird how that happened. Also, some people didn't get their pledges. I suppose that probably is a concern for any large thing, and maybe put in that it's a board game box means it's less. I do always like their cardboard, though. It's like super strong. All right. And we got some very nice, look at that, even a little bit on the top there. Very thick, like very spongy, that's actually kind of cool. Material here. Perfectly cut to that, very nice. Uh-oh, looks like maybe a little too perfectly cut. Or I just opened it up badly. But this is nice, this is great. You can see kind of the layers here. So they can kind of get it as thin as they need to. So there's, looks like 2 layers on the bottom. This is 2 layers. So these 2 layers here, and then this is the wall. And then a single layer on top. Let's move this. Well, let's get everything out of the box first. I think all that's left is this. Now it looks like they're definitely, oh my gosh, it's heavy. That is a heavy core box. All right, hold on. Counting on the structure of the cardboard box and whatever shipping arrangement they have, because there wasn't really padding on the side. And it looks like then nothing else remains. So we'll start with the surprise box. All right, so the prize box. This is kind of funny because it's like barely a box here. Now this is exciting. I am so pumped for this. ISS Vanguard. I need to know more about it. So Awakened Realms, get a hold of me. I definitely want to do a video on this because I've been kind of, preaching about it. I got something wet on here. I don't know what I did. Anyway, this looks cool. It kind of, again, it gives me kind of a Mass Effect kind of in 7 vibe going on here, and the art looks cool, and it just looks neat. And I need a good kind of sleek sci-fi game like that. I really do. I got the gritty, and I got the violent. I need like a very, clean lines, bright colors kind of thing. It's not like CMON's giving me Starcadia Quest anytime soon, it seems. No, eventually it's coming, but all right, that's the box. Set that aside. We got an, oh, look at that, a little art book. This is nice. It's like hardcover, and oh, I'm excited for that. And then we have Tainted Grail, Almanac of Avalon. Interesting. And a letter. Let's open the letter. Not a real wax seal. That's all right. I'll forgive them. There. Carefully open this if I can. Oh, it's not gonna... because of the type of parchment, I think it's might get lucky going the other way. Okay, it started to lift it up, so you can even see a little bit there, but I lucked out. Just be careful with it, baby. You'll be fine. All right, let's see here. Come on. All right. Now, the last one they had on Nemesis, I really liked. It just seemed honest, which I can definitely be a fan of. All right, so let's see here. Dear backer, we're incredibly excited to present you Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, the first part of an amazing adventure set in the dark land of myths and legends. This game was the biggest project we have set upon so far, and the sheer scope of content you are going to experience is unprecedented, especially with Wave 2. Over 700 cards, 100,000 words of the story, and over 1,000 unique arts in the core box only. The arts is odd English, but I get what they're saying there. All come together, forming an experience that we hope will keep you on the edge of your seat for long, long hours. Tainted Grail: The Fall of Babylon was also a massive team effort. Over 30 people worked on various parts of the game. We didn't only put countless hours into the development, but also our hearts and passion. Again, another odd sentence, but I get what they mean. This is actually already reading better than the one in Nemesis. For us, this game was something we always wanted to create: a vast, unique setting, an immersive, branching story with surprising twists and turns, cooperative gameplay that will keep your minds exercised. That's funny. We want to highlight one thing: this game would never become a reality without your support. We are not only talking about money. Sure, funding was an important aspect, considering the amount of content and the unprecedented scope of the production. But you have also provided us with amazing support, feedback, and motivation to keep going. Creating this game was at times daunting and required persistence and discipline. Inserted the and there. Day in, day out, we had to keep going at the peak of our productivity. We are sure you would not be able to cross the finish line if not for your constant encouragement and support. Throughout the years, you have established a small tradition of adding surprise extra content for our Kickstarter backers, and this continues with the Tainted Grail. Please keep in mind that items you will find in this box are not stretch goals. Those are extra bonuses on top of the stretch goals you are going to receive. Included are an Almanac of Avalon, an impressive 100-page long encyclopedia of Tainted Grail that you can use to expand your knowledge of Avalon, its strange places, its dangers, its peoples, their customs. Each entry was annotated by one of the characters from the game, providing a unique perspective. And then the ISS Vanguard art book, an art book filled with an amazing art for your next major board game that will be going live sometime in 2020. Looks like Q2. I'm hoping anyway. I'm hoping it's soon. We really hope you will enjoy these presents, but most importantly, we hope you will enjoy Tainted Grail. We wish you many lit menhirs, many lucky encounters, or exciting discoveries on wild trails of the island, and we hope the weirdness never catches up with you. Make sure to leave your feedback about the game by posting a picture on social media or leaving a review on Board Game Geek. This will go a long way. I'll be sure to put it there. And then we got Marcin and Christoph, and then the Raken Wellms team at large. And then on the back, they're going to tell you essentially like, hey, what happens if you need to do stuff like that, and give you some content information. This, by the way, even without the letter, this is really helpful for backers, because so many times people will have issues and they won't know to contact GameFound. They're going to contact like CMON or the company or whatever, and then they're going to be told, no, you need to contact the distributor. They'll handle getting you a replacement or something like that. It just it's really helpful for the backer, I think, to see that. This is cool. I like this. It seems pretty upfront. It's like, hey, we realize, yeah, you helped us with money, but it's a little bit more than that. You helped with feedback and stuff like that. And as far as getting Kickstarters, I view getting a Kickstarter as one of two things. All right, so a few things about this. I think when you're backing a Kickstarter, there are really only a few reasons you should ever back a Kickstarter. Either it's exclusive, so you can't get it at all otherwise, or you could, but like it's on eBay or the Game Steward for like quadruple the price, something like that. So either you can't get it otherwise, that's the only way to get it, or you could get it otherwise, but you're getting like the collector's edition. That means all the stretch goals or premium upgrades or stuff like that. And then the other reason it can be, and again, it could be all three, it doesn't matter. The other thing is if you're getting it at a cheaper price or getting it sooner, and that's kind of a toss-up. I guess you could list it as two different ones. It doesn't matter either way. Sooner, cheaper, more / better, or only, right? Those are your options. So when it comes to something like this, or when it comes to something like this, or even this, or whatever, when you get kind of the holy trifecta of getting it earlier, getting it cheaper, and getting it better, that's when a Kickstarter, in my mind, does well. And so if you're running a Kickstarter or launching a Kickstarter and you're trying to figure out, why should people give us money? You need to answer those questions for the consumer so that us as backers can know, do we want to get the cheaper, better, sooner, edition of it? And this is the only way to get that version of it or something like that. And it's okay if you don't have them all. You could just be like, you know what, you're going to get it sooner than retail. Or, you know what, this is a cheaper price than retail. We're going to retail, you're going to get the same crap, but you get it cheaper. Something like that. Either way, you need to like give as much of those as you can because it really helps. So when you get stuff like this, I think that really, really helps. It makes it feel premium, makes it feel special and unique. I know I can't go into my friendly local gaming store and get this. This is just a cool little thing that comes with it, which is awesome. And it came out sooner, and it was a great price. So all of that that's really what we want. That's all I want to see on that. I just think that's a smart idea. Let's go ahead and leaf through this a little bit. So we got some credits and whatnot. I'm proofreading. That's nice. Illustrations. Not as many people as I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artists. What do I got on here? What the heck? I don't see anything crazy. Unless we have some. Oh, that's gonna look cool. I love it. I love that it's just like the sepia toned washed kind of parchment paper stuff. I really dig having the words. That's super helpful. Just because it gives you something to actually just kind of read and learn, and it's just an interesting thing to do. I do wish that the binding was a little bit different, because I would love to do the kind of coffee table thing, but this will get kind of bent out of shape, and so it won't look good. Like once I actually consume this product and read through it all, even being careful, it'll puff up a little bit, so it'll have to kind of be inside somewhere like that. That being said, again, if they had been able to do this and this, it almost would have been kind of cool, because if you notice, it's one art piece, right? And so like you can't really lift it out, but you can kind of tell. That's just kind of neat. All right. I mean, there's a ton here. This is really, really thick. A lot of different art pieces on each one. I'm sure they're all kind of integrated. Not a big amount. If you want to learn about Tainted Grail, it's like you're reading. Not like you're reading a Wikipedia article on it. Like there's just a little one, a couple sentences and then maybe a quote on each thing. Just a couple sentences and then a quote or two. But still, I really dig the concept art. It's just kind of cool. Just neat. It's a novelty item, and that's something I actually really appreciate. And there might be some Easter eggs in here too. I'm deciding. I can't decide. Maybe you guys let me know. Should I read this before playing or after playing? In other words, would this ruin it or would this enrich my experience? I don't know. So we'll just have to find out. All right, let's open up this. The art style in here is really cool. Like really cool. And I've actually seen Marcin posted on the Facebook group at one point about the kind of changing art style that they've been kind of like, they have a theme more or less, but they have had different styles, which I think is kind of interesting. So it's kind of, I'll be interested to see if it's very consistent here or if it is kind of like them finding their way on the kind of the visual side of the storytelling that they want to tell through the art on here. Because, like with the Tainted Grail, it's very, a certain kind of art style with, it's like almost in like water paints and stuff like that. And obviously this is not, right? Definitely a big use of color, and I have found kind of scale, right? So always putting small people next to things, right? Or, just somehow making things bigger in the background and stuff like that. Let's take a look. Let's see what we got here. Promo art book. Okay, some lore stuff. This is great. Awakened Realms, a lot of this you should like put as like desktop backgrounds. Like you should have 1080p and 4K versions of this that we can. Is that going to be the box art? That looks great. Cooperative board game, 1 to 4 players. I like that. Explore the Scars, develop your characters, prepare an expedition, and then Vanguard, whatever that means. Very cool. Oh, see, look at that. Just kind of color concepts. Various levels of finish. Some are like trials, some are not. Yeah, so like this art style is different than this art style. Do you see the difference there? So that's kind of what I'm talking about, where they're kind of trying to get a sense of what kind of style they're doing here. But I mean, I love it, and I love seeing that iterative process of it too. And the creative process is just so fascinating, especially when artists do it. I don't mean artists as in people who just color. I mean like creative people. Those are the artists. And seeing how they got from A to B and what they were thinking and all that. Very cool. Just the use of color and stuff here is awesome. I'm trying to see. Okay, so they got some character art there. This is very interesting. What's going on there? I don't even know. Oh, I think it's just about the artists. That's what that is. Okay. I was like, that seems weird. Jellyfish people. Yeah, so just a whole lot. Very cool. A lot of this you've seen on Facebook if you're part of the groups. I really dig the jacket. But I like having that there. And it's got some nice foil stuff there. And a little shiny, little nice, little premium. All right. Time for the big box. CB. I don't know what that means. All right, let's see how to open this safely. Through the side, of course. All right. This is a big box. I was not expecting the core box to be this big. This is very thick. But it's a good size for like a Calyx bookshelf, which is nice too, I suppose. My goodness. It is like dense. It's all like cardboard, that's what it is. That stuff like always weighs a freaking ton. All right, okay, get that out of the way. So, right off the bat, back is upside down. Is it? No, it's not. Is it right side up both sides? It is, look at that, good for them. I like it. Okay, so this tells you again a little bit about it, and you know, this looks like it's all render, but it's done pretty nice. You can tell because the cards are always like a solid thing. 2 to 3 hours each, 15 chapters, 1 to 4 players, 14 plus, open and play, and quick save. Yeah, the quick save seems cool. Reviewer's opinion: Man vs. Meeple. It's kind of paid for. Rolling Solo, he's cool. Rado, he seems cool. McGuire review, he does everything for a giveaway. Krabik, he's got lightsabers, that's all I know about him. Board Game Coffee, know nothing about him. All right, and they're still using Easter. Let's hopefully Easter's improved a bit. They are not my favorite manufacturer. I think Awaken Realms is kind of wasted on them, in my opinion. I would love to see them make a deal with a little bit of a better manufacturer when it comes to just, you know, QC and stuff like that. I think they have to deal with a lot of stuff they shouldn't have to deal with, dealing with Easter. All right, start here. I like that it's on top then. That's helpful. I have gotten games where like hey, this is a helpful start here thing is like inside something or is otherwise hidden. It looks like it's just kind of a quick start guide by the looks of it. Kind of interesting. He's cool. All right. Well, I like it. It's big. Like it's. Some people I've made comments about this and people have responded like, oh, I like those because it keeps everything level or whatever. But for me, it just when I actually need to use it, I'm less concerned about how it stores and more about using the rulebook. And for me, using the rulebook is the most important thing. And I tend to find these to be a little unwieldy for me, but everybody's different. Rule summary on the back, that's nice. And again, it takes up so much desk space. Like I would have rather have had more than 24 pages and just, like so thicker and smaller, but it's whatever. It's Comet Diplomacy, Order of the Day, Guardians, stuff like that. We'll open it up, see if we got an index. We do have an index, and it looks to be a real index. It looks fairly in-depth. It's in alphabetical order, and it lists multiple pages, like page 10 and 12 is where they talk about attributes. Events and characters, page 9 and 12. That's really helpful, super useful. I like that. I like the off-white that's in here, too. There's a little bit of, just a hint of like some texture and stuff like that. It just makes it less stark and contrasty. If you want to go stylized, that's fine. Like Claustrophobia did that, and it looked cool, too. But I don't mind this at all. I got some 3D renders here, table of contents, some credits right there at the front. A component list with images. This is knocking it out of the park. You have the index. Fantastic. It's all in alphabetical order. It's listing multiple stuff. I can really use that. It looks great. Component list. Not only do I get a component list, but I get a picture of it, which is huge, especially on a card game. When you're talking about your green basic versus your blue basic versus your Bior cards or the Arrow cards, what do we start making up crap, right? Like, I don't know the difference between the Maggot cards, the Aelie cards, the Bior cards, and the Arrow cards. I don't know, but this picture will probably help me in the context. So when you're mentioning something, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's a quick thing, right? If you tell me 3 other divider cards, I know it's these 3. If I see those, I'm done, I'm good, I know what I'm looking at. Really, it's just helpful, really helpful. I know the difference between the quest token and the time token, because you didn't just tell me, 8 time tokens and 4 quest tokens. If there was a mishap in the packing and I only got 4 of these and 4 of these, how would I know which one's which? I wouldn't. I mean, maybe because of the time dial. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It just, the image really helps. A component list that shows the images is always nice. It's worth the page it takes up, or the spread, or even a couple pages. That's fine. Starting things out with the basic information and layout, that seems good. I like starting at a high level and then digging in. Tell me just kind of basic overall view. What am I doing? And then tell me how to do it. Campaign setup, character setup, world setup. This seems good so far. Playing the game, order of the day, start the day, during the day, and end of the day. Seems that's how time works here. That's helpful. Basic rules. Again, so it's already page 10 and we've done setup and all that kind of stuff. So I know how to set it up. Now I just know here's the basic rules. And again, it's basic rules. So we're not going, this looks pretty detailed. I will note that the lettering here is quite small. So this is going to be dense, right? It looks like, only 24 pages. It's a good 50-page rule book in a 24-page format because it's big and they lowered the text. But that's fine. I'm seeing bold. I'm seeing callouts, I'm seeing image examples, numbers, symbols, and even some color usage, right? And we get some red headers so you don't mix them up with the black bold. That's helpful. It looks like we got a different kind of an orange header looking here. I'm not sure I'm seeing too much of a theme on like, oh, this is this is that. But the color difference does help break it out. Same with the underline of each one so you can quickly find out. And I don't know if they're consistent with the boldness. You know, again, we'll see or whatever. That's fine. But I do like that they're adding a little bit of art here, but they're not wasting a ton of space. Sometimes you'll get like a whole page of it, and I mean that's cool. I get it. I'm not necessarily against it, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're making this rule book this thick thing when it doesn't need to be. So like right here, right, they're really only using 2/3 of the page and then the other parts over here. Now it probably works because the next is just an example and that takes up pretty much a whole page, enough where you don't want to cram some stuff down here because then it's hard to follow because you're like, oh, the start of this is actually right here, right? I mean, that'd be weird. So I think it looks like they did a good job on the layout. I'll have to read it, see how good the English is. It's always a concern. Just anytime anything's been translated. It has nothing to do with where it's going. I'm sure people that do not speak English have to deal with it all the time. And I feel really bad for them because it is difficult to have a technical document really, really do well in multiple languages. But that's that. All right, moving on. Get back to here. So this is interesting. I got some tape and some wrap, and that's very cool. Because there's the spiral ring. Very nice. All right, well, let's move this back and go to here. I need to cut this very carefully. I say very carefully, and then I don't feel like I was careful at all there. All right, so we got that. Don't think. Now this is interesting. Oh, okay, that's on purpose. I was like, what happened? I was freaking out. That looked terrible. I think it got water damage or something, but I think that was on purpose. All right, I think I can cheat and go here. I feel like I can. I think I can. Like the little train engine that could. All right. There we go. Look at that. Now, I'm assuming, spoilers, so I'm not going to look too much into it. Just the very beginning. That's what I'm going to do. Exploration journal. Very cool. This is huge. I do like the ringed binder. That helps a ton. A lot of the companies are doing that, and it's very nice. This seems quite premium. It's metal, or a very hard plastic that feels like metal, but I can't quite tell. I don't think it'd be magnetic or anything, but it's got a nice coating to it, and it's very rigid. It's not the squishy kind or anything like that. What is it? Using it, player notes. We recommend you take notes. Interesting. And then looks like it goes ahead and start. Now, I don't know how much and again, I'm just looking at the few pages here. Hopefully it's not too bad. What I will say is art. I like that. It looks good. Different things that are happening. Call boxes. Clear numbered stuff. When I played Trespass Odyssey, it was sometimes hard to kind of find the numbers everywhere just because of where it was. And then it looks like there's like these pages here as well that probably means something. I'll look into it, obviously, but it looks good. This is nice and matte. Yeah, I like it. Looks good. Now we're back here again. And we have just some notes. Very thematic. Very cool. I like that for the characters. You get to kind of read their notes. That's nice. And it feels like there's a texture here. I don't know if you can even see that maybe in the reflection a little bit, but or you can hear it. It almost feels a little fabric-y, right? Almost like money is actually kind of close to what it is. It looks like everybody gets a little map. Again, don't know exactly what that's for. It looks to be the same. It's only one-sided. But everybody gets a little map. Why not? And then we have the save sheet. And look at that. We got plenty. What I like about these is even if you do eventually run out, which that's a lot of save sheets, you can just photocopy it. So before you use the last one or right away, just go ahead and make some copies of it. And then you're good to go. All right. Now we got a lid here. Well, okay, this is not lidded. This is just... it's got something over it. So let's go ahead and do that. Ooh, all right, we'll get that later. Oh, and keep it dry. All right, I want to open these player boards though because I heard about snapping, or like not really snapping, but really slotting in those cubes, the colored cubes. Plus, the little tray that moves up here will be kind of cool, and I don't know. I'm excited for the story. But the gameplay seems kind of interesting too. The only thing I'm worried about is the combat. But probably more on that during a review. What do you say about that? It looks like the back is the same on everything. So sometimes they'll put a little backstory on the back, which is kind of nice because then you can lay those out and players can pick what they want. Let's say you might get your note instead and the note might work. But this should... And so they got a little lip here so you can slot it out or put it back in there. I'm assuming... perhaps that the bonus characters, you're gonna have a green player, a blue character, a brown character, and a gray character, and so you'll have other green characters in the expansions, and you can just put it here. Otherwise, it'd be kind of, oh well, okay, no, there is a little bit here, so there's two different things you can do up here. Oh, this is the setup, which is kind of cool. All right. Interesting. Anyway, I don't know if you're just going to be getting these and slot them in. I'm not sure. I will say a couple things. There's a little nick on this one. You can kind of see that. Let me zoom in a little bit more. There you go, just so you can see. I'll get my pointy stick out, my royal poker. And as you can see here, there's a little nick here. I'm not sure, probably some machine process or something just kind of nicked it a little bit. Maybe even some factory workers' fingernails. I don't know. There's another nick here. It looks like it's probably just on the top one. Which makes me lean to believe a little bit more that it was maybe just a machine, because these other ones look perfect. I could check the back of this one and see if it has anything. It does not, so just that little bit. When it comes to whether or not they have a little bit of a bend, they do have a little bit of a wobble. You can kind of see it maybe move just a little bit. There's a little bend right here. Right here it kind of bends up ever so slightly. Not a whole lot. One way to always tell is to flip one and put it over. And if it's not flush, like right here you can see, it gets very tiny. This is not a negative for me, but it is something I always check. Is, you just flip them like that. So if this is now all curved the same way, right, this is how it was, and you take the top one here, flip it around, and we can see, now look at that, there's a lot more there, which is kind of, oh wait, no. I was like, what the heck? Calm down, everybody. All right. So, any slant there? Not really. It might only just be that back one. Again, very slight. Very slight. I'm fine with that. All right. The double thickness is good. The texture, there is a slight texture. It's not super smooth, which I'm okay with. It's got that kind of a hash mark kind of look to it, which is what it is. The one bummer I have is the cardboard, while it's thick, seems a little soft. And what I mean by that is I could probably pinch it. So it's rounded on the bottom, but as you can see, even now it's already getting kind of roughed up. right here. And in fact, it looks like it was bent right here. And that's because I could probably bend this with my hand fairly well. It just, you can see the layers, right? It's just kind of a little bit of a cheaper cardboard than I'd like. It looks like the glue job on it to bend it down is actually really good. What you're seeing here is just the light color with the green. It's not actually like peeling. So in Nemesis, when I unboxed that, something like this would have been catastrophic too. It'd be peeling off, and I'm not seeing that here. So this looks to be a better job. Overall, I'm happy with it. It's good. Like I said, a little bit of dings here, but I mean, that's not super noticeable anyway. But there is a reason OCD's in the title. All right, now everything else is lidded. It is a flat lid, so we'll see kind of how that works. I don't know if these are snap-in or not. I'm worried that they will be. I do not like snap-in as a painter. I'm going to go ahead and take this off, but I'm going to talk about the glue job here first. So a couple things. Just from a visual perspective, let's see if you can see that or not. This just looks kind of ugly. There's a little bit of a bump here. You can see right here. And so dust could get in there a little bit. It looks like it goes fairly close to the edge here. It's just a little dirty, I guess is what you could say. A little bit of a lip here for the glue. A little bit here. Very minimal. This one's actually probably pretty good. But you can definitely... I guess just see scuff marks and stuff. Like even in the box here, all this is like scuffed up. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm going to go and zoom in. You've seen the layout a little bit. There you go. So anyway, yeah, I'm just talking about right here. Just some scuffed and a little bit of a bubble. It's just more of a visual thing. I'm not too concerned about dust actually getting in there, and you can probably flatten it down a little bit. Just something to note. Additionally, the cardboard that's made out of is quite flexible. It doesn't feel nearly as rigid. I do like that it's black inside. That's very nice. I like seeing that. I think it looks nice. And in fact, this lid here is glued much better. Yeah, so the only thing I'm seeing, a little bit of a lip there, a little bit of an overlap on the glue job and the cut. But otherwise, this one's great. This one, not quite as much. It's not quite the same level, but I digress. Let's open up some cubes because I want to stick them in there. So let's see, you get tons of red, some purple. Let's do the red. Oh, this is deep. And an extra bag. Okay, cool. I appreciate any extra bags. It's always helpful, especially because these are not resealable. Maybe that's what this is for all of them. I'm not sure, instead of keeping them separate. We'll see kind of how everything works that way. So here's some more bags. Thank you for including the bags. You know, this I'm sure costs them a couple pennies each. And you times that by thousands, it's not exactly super cheap. And these are actually quite thick. It doesn't look like they're going to tear. Sometimes you get the ones where even just separating it like this, you start to get like a tear. These actually seem kind of nice. I like it. They got the little holes so they won't puff up with air. I appreciate that a lot. That's nice. I really like that. Let's open these up. Now again, my understanding, listening to Marcin talk, is that they really worked on changing the size of these to match perfectly. And I will say, I'm used to the Conan ones, and these are like thick. These, with 2 C's, these are nice and thick. No, but these, oh gosh, I'm gonna lose that forever now. I'll just try to remember to get that later. Remind me in the comments, tell me to go get it. I probably forgot it. By the time you watch this, it'll still be down there. Let's take one of these. Let's put a cube in there. So you don't have to mash it in, which is kind of good. It stays in fairly good. It looks like it will fall out. I know there's 2 different sizes. That's right. So maybe this is what I should do. That's why there's 2. I remember they were talking about like you can't accidentally put some in somewhere. So that's, calm down. It's gonna go over there. So this does not fit in here. And it does not fit, or does it? Does it fit in there? No, not really. So this is too big. This is only for here, I'm assuming. All right, so you have that, whereas these fit in here pretty much perfectly. There's not a whole lot of wiggle or give or anything like that. They're not locked in. It's not super pressured, which is good because that wouldn't last, right? Especially over such a long game. Eventually you'd wear it out and then you'd be kind of bummed. But if it just never is tight to begin with, you can't be bummed when it's not tight, right? No. Yeah, no, I like that. That's cool. That was a smart move to not make them interchangeable so the purple can't go or they shouldn't. Very smart move. It's the little things like that I think definitely add up. Looking at the quality here, these are actually quite clear. So whenever I get them from Monolith, a lot of times they'll still have some scuff marks on them and stuff like that. And not just Monolith, quite a few. There are a few scuff marks here, but for the most part, these are quite good. Now this is the one bummer that I always tend to see is you'll get a little corner on each one of them, if I can find it. Right there, see? You see a little white? That's where it's actually detached from, and it's never clear. I've seen this on pretty much all the ones that I've gotten, and some are less noticeable. Like this one's barely noticeable, right? This one's actually great, but then some are quite noticeable, where you get a lot of it there. And you know what? Maybe I should actually show you. What is I'm talking about? What do you think? That sound good? So as you can see, there's just a little bit of a white there when it detaches. And those are typically always there. Some are less than others. Like this one. Right? So this one has it just looks cleaner, right? Barely noticeable. And really, when you're rolling them around, you just barely, I tend to notice them, but I know it's there. Sorry if I ruined it for you. Now you know it's there too. I imagine the same are on the purple. Yep. So right there, some are better than others. Is what it is. They all have that. These are actually, I think, quite good. Let's look at some more tokens. Let's look at the dice, actually. Oh my gosh. So anytime they do this, I can never... There we go. It's always a struggle. Custom thematic dice. I do like that. Zoom in some. I don't zoom in all the way. There we are. All right. I do appreciate that. So it looks like we got north, south, east, west, and an X and a blank. So it's probably used for a couple different things. It is inlaid with some paint. It's not like this is plastic or anything. I'm not seeing a lot of bleed over, and it looks like they even got the sidewalls pretty darn good. I think that was supposed to be painted in, but I'm not quite sure. Again, just because there's some style there. I'm not seeing any chipping or anything like that. I do worry a little bit about this die, just that I won't be able to tell from a distance necessarily if it rolled on a 3 or a 5 kind of thing. I guess I'll have to play it and see. What I'm saying is I worry that there's not enough spacing around it, or that it's not different enough to where it'll just kind of blend in. It's probably okay. That 6 seems to be uncentered. It seems there's more space here than here. My opinion. See, like the 3 looks... So this 3 here looks perfect in my mind, right? Even, 2, even. And you get to the 6, and this seems fatter. I don't know if that's just a design. I don't know if they looked into that, or maybe because it's supposed to look kind of hand-drawn, that's okay. That's what it is. Quality-wise, though, they look good. They're barely rounded, so they're quite square. So that'll affect its rolling. Good or bad, I can't tell. I'll roll bad either way. But yeah, so just a normal 6-sided die. And again, they could have put a Yahtzee die in here. They could have done a come on, and you paid $120 for it, and you get a Yahtzee die. Or they can print you out a nice, cool one that's pretty unique and thematic, because there's nothing less thematic than Yahtzee die. All right, look at some tokens here. What is? Oh, those are the dials. Let's look at the dials too. And then these are just more of those. Very cool. All right. You know what? This is the other part of the character tray. Let's go ahead and open that up. At least one of them. Let's see, you're going to get 4 of them, of course. Of course. So, what this does is it should... First of all, I like the themed heart on fire. That's kind of cool. It'll block how high you can move things. So it's marking in the health, but as that, your terror limit and your energy level go down, and you can't go above that. This seems to actually lock in quite well to where I don't think it'll actually even fall out unless you maybe really shake it. But otherwise, it tends to go in there quite good, but it just comes right out too. There's just enough friction in there. I wish they had almost been able to do that with the gems, but That is all right. Works great. That's nice. Well, only worry part I guess I would have, it's quite hard plastic, and so I'd worry this might, if you, for whatever reason, or I don't know, somehow are clumsy or your kids get a hold of it, maybe that'll snap. It's been unfortunate. You can do it without it, right? You could just mark a cube there and be like, okay, I can't go above that. I mean, like, it's not like it's, you know, the most critical part of anything. It's not like a Return to Dark Tower. If your tower broke, you can't play the game, right? And you can still play it. All right. Going in here. I actually don't know what these are. It's been a while since I've read about the game. So I'm trying to think here. But either way, these are cool looking. So I'll give them that. So we got gold. Oh, these are the quest and time tokens. I didn't realize the shape they were in. Or that they clip onto something by the looks of it. These, put a brown wash on this. It'll look sweet. Put a black wash on that. It'd be sweet. I know what I'm doing. That'd be cool. Those would look awesome. And then we have the dials here. These are for the min here, which I will use in a bit. As you can tell, I just got plastic ones. I actually wanted just all gray plastic because that way, you know, if I do something with it, then I can fully do it. I don't have to worry about a wash or anything like that. And if not, it's no different than any other game. I'm not too concerned about it. So looking at these, I have heard that the number is hard to tell, and I would probably agree, just because there's so much swirl going on, and then these don't really stand out, especially like is that a, what is, okay, so this is 9. 9, 5, 4, 3, 2, VXL? Maybe? They're stylized. That is difficult, and it's difficult to see too. A little bit easier on this side. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That one's a little bit easier to read. It looks like Quest and Skull. I will say, again, if you paint it, you can always put some gold here or something like that. Or just, you can make a pop, right? You can do what you want. Detail-wise, very minimal. Like these teeth are like a hint, a suggestion of teeth. If you put a wash on that, it looks smooth. If you put paint on that, it looks smooth. If you primed it, it probably looks smooth. This side, everything looks good. I can tell everything. The mouth on the skull does not work. It's just super, super thin. Everything else, again, I think looks good, but that mouth, like the teeth there, not so good. And hopefully you don't just hear this all game, as people do that, waiting for their turn. Hate it. It's terrible. When I got Rising Sun, I got the little Mancala pieces. Oh man, it was brutal. All right, let's open some cards. We'll get to the miniatures. Calm down. Okay, I want different sized cards. Let's get these giant cards. Let's get some small cards. I'm not going to open them all. You know, it's like we need to go see everything. And then let's pick a fat pack here. Not Magic the Gathering. Calm down. This pack. Let's do that. All right. Let's see. Should we go in that order? Should we go this order? Or should we go crazy and go that order? I think I'm going to start big and go small. Go big or go home, right? Okay. Easy enough to open. I appreciate that. Sometimes these companies will make it super tight and they won't have a ridge. And it's just like I get, that's impressive. Like, good for you for being able to pack very efficiently. It sucks trying to open it. Like, the consumer gets it and you're going to end up cutting a card or something like that. Kind of like in Magic the Gathering, when you got the old ones, you cut where the instructions were kind of thing. So there's no instructions. So it looks like there's a little bit of discoloration on my cards. I'm not sure what that is, but there's a little bit of brownness, a little bit of, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll be able to see. I mean, everything's so many different colors. And like, maybe it's just brown there, but I mean, there's other dark cards that aren't doing that. So yeah, I don't know. Odd. All right, so let's just take one. I don't want to ruin everything. Action overview. Oh, these are just player rates. Look at that. 4 player rates. I like that. Good for you guys. I'll take the player rates. I'm not spoiling anything. So, right now, just looking at the top one, the top one's going to be the most banged up, but it's a good way to show how it'll look like after you play the darn game. So you can see the scratches here and some scuff marks here. Part of that comes with how gloss it is. You can see the reflection here. They're very gloss. So depending on your lighting situation, if you actually like put lights on like this, you're going to get a glare. I prefer matte over gloss pretty much every day of the week. Though I like the feel of gloss. I think that actually feels kind of good. Though it can feel a little slimy, like there's something on your fingers afterwards. All right, so I can read this fine. The yellow on green, and it's like a yellow-green too. It doesn't stand out a whole bunch. So if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, you might have some problems reading it. I can read it fine though, especially this darker. This is easier with the lighter color. Like this stands out a lot more. This kind of blends in maybe a little bit, but again, I can still read it. So yeah, again, just kind of the general dents and scuff marks, stuff like that, but overall seems good. It's pretty thin. It's not the thinnest I've had, and it doesn't bend terribly. And it looks like it pops back, so I can bend it like that. And then there's just kind of a little bit of a bend there. Now, do the same thing here. I'm going to take, let's do those. Not the one I bent. How about that? Flip them. And you can see the bend there. So there is a little bit of a bend. This happens a lot in stores, especially when they're wrapped. I feel sometimes if they're wrapped too tight, it bends them a little bit. So these are bending this way, causing the flipped ones to flip the other way, which causes that gap. It's convenient because it means I didn't ruin the deck in that sense. And it honestly, so the problem here is, let me just take one. The problem here is you're putting this is your board, right? So you're putting your characters on this. That being said, it's also just a card, so it's not too bad. Hopefully, gosh, I probably ruined that, didn't I? Whatever, I'll figure it out. All right, I'm happy with the thickness, and the bend does not bother me too much. I've seen far worse that cause an issue. That's not going to cause an issue. Now, I just put this back in here. One thing I can tell is there is a divider right down here. And that divider is keeping this nice and snug, which I dig. Now, what goes on the other side, I don't know yet. Maybe just the ones you've explored, but I think eventually you'd explore them all. I don't know. Moving on down in size. Biggest to least. Open this up. I love look at the art on the back. You are going insane. You are dying. Yeah, I hate when that happens. Combat. Great art on the back. My goodness, that looks gorgeous. All right. These are not stained. These look nice. You get those kind of scuff marks here. That's quite normal. The staining was kind of an odd thing here. These are your combat die where you have to or not your combat die, sorry. Where you have to build combos off this. It's the one thing I'm kind of concerned with because I'm big on player downtime. And I worry that if somebody's battling this and trying to build combos off this kind of stuff, that I'm just going to be sitting there twiddling my thumbs or spinning in my chair. Or worst case scenario, somebody pulls out their phone. And then they start checking Facebook, and then they don't know when it's their turn. It just, hopefully, that's not too bad. But otherwise, color, the border, I think helps a lot, make them stand out. The yellow text on the yellow background's a little hard to read, the ingenious trap. The drop shadow helps slightly. That being said, the symbols here pop out great. So this is almost polar opposite. This is a little kind of hard. This pops out good. I love the full art, that there's a shadow here to kind of separate it, but the art continues on. I really dig that. Border to border, there's no border or anything like that. It's just art with some overlay on it, which I appreciate. Looks good. I like the coloration of it. Very dark mood setting. I don't need anything super bright and cheery in this world. I'm okay with that. Though you do have some that seem kind of nice. And it's sewing, right? It makes sense. It's not an insidious trap. All right, those are cool too. I don't even know how this one ended. Did it go in like that? I don't think so. Oh, maybe it did. All right. Small ones and then minis. Now, if you are wondering about the Monsters of Avalon, I already unboxed that. You can check out a link in the description below. Definitely have one of those. Secret. Okay, I don't want to show any secrets. Are these all secrets? I do not want to show any secrets. Okay, it looks like the firsts are okay. So we'll look at that. And really all I'm trying to see is, again, kind of the scuff on the outside. You can see a little bit of a scuff there, a little bit of a dent there. And honestly, a matte instead of gloss would hide that more, because when you're shining it, you'll notice where it's not shining. If it was matte or textured in some way, it would not show up nearly as bad. It would stay looking fresh longer. And it would be less slidey on a big pile too, right? It'd be a little bit of a grip. So I would suggest doing a linen finish of some kind on there, just for usability's sake, not necessarily for the whole premium or anything like that. It just would be nice. That's a lot of cards though, I understand. Okay, let's look at some miniatures. Okay, so right off the bat, snap in. So if I was to paint this, right, you got this really cool looking miniature here. And you see how that's touching right there? You see how that's touching his head? Like I move him, I can't even fit this in between. So if I'm gonna paint him, now it's just barely, right? It's just barely holding on, I appreciate that. But this will rub every time I load my game back in. And so even if I varnish it, eventually that can wear off to the point where I wouldn't necessarily want to put him back in, right? Just because I'd be concerned that little bit, especially if I'm pushing back on this to pulling him out, then you're really grinding all this. These will guarantee, varnish or not, become gray again. The paint won't hold. So a lot of times what I do is I'll actually cut where it's touching. So I'll like cut this wall out, and you end up with just kind of a ridge here and then kind of the placeholders here. I can sometimes work, sometimes not. It really just kind of depends. I do not like snap-in trays. Like this is bad. I could never paint the rim of his base. It would just scrape so much without cutting holes into this, which is what I normally do. I do not like snap-in trays. And unless you give me a good reason why not, and I can't think of one, you should have normal trays that they just sit in. And then if you need to, on the lid, you put in, instead of this nice clear stuff, which it looks great, granted, these little kind of bumps, these dimples to kind of hold them in place. So instead, you just have a little kind of gentle plastic, and it's even like maybe a little bit above, so it's not pressing down hard, but it would just barely be able to move, just wiggle a tiny bit in there. That's better than having to like really pull them out. This one seems to be the worst. Now, I can almost lift the whole box with that. Oh, that one's bad too. All right. Anyway, let's look at some minis. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take them out. That's what we're here for, right? If we're being honest with ourselves. I thought you got more than just one here. I didn't realize there was just one. 3 men here. I think each one is a unique sculpt though, so that's cool. And now, before I pack this away, let's talk about the plastic insert. All right, move. Vámonos. All right. So, this is great plastic. If you notice, it's just holding up that a lot. Like, it is very thick. It's not crinkly. Right, sometimes you get a lot of crinkle. It just sounds like just the very loud, crinkly sound, and it would hurt your ears right now. There's some more silica gel. Look at that. I might just keep it in there if it's not hurting anything. Very good quality plastic here. And it looks like this is the safe spot for your different characters, so all your cards would go in there with your character for future gameplay. But very nice and sturdy. Like, this is nice, which is good because you're putting all this heavy cards in here. Now, I will say, it does not look like it will support every sleeve. So if you have aftermarket sleeves that are quite thick, you're probably going to run out of space. If you have ones that are tall, you're probably going to run out of space. If you have ones that are wide, you're going to run out of space. You definitely could not double sleeve these. Though I don't know anybody who's double sleeving board games. But either way, I would be very cautious about saying that this supports sleeves. Don't know for sure, didn't read it, and even if they say so, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I mean, it just depends. I'm not saying they're lying, I'm just saying I didn't check. But something to note there. All right. Now, I will show these in the end shot. You guys know how I do that. It'll be nice and lit up on the round table at the very end of the video, and you'll see these in all of their glory, just like I did for the Monsters of Avalon. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start with the little guys, of course. Your heroes, right? So, starting things out. Now, again, this is just me looking at it for the first time, and you will see it with me not spinning it around on my hand and moving around in just a few minutes. The texture on here, I can tell you right now, is great. Great texture there. That'll be fantastic. The wash will go in these creases amazingly well. He has his mouth open and he's looking up. He's got clear ears. His hand here is very skinny and kind of barely there. He's definitely got a little bit of a mitten hand on the bottom here. This hand, however, is extremely defined. So it's kind of an interesting swap between this hand that's closed and this hand that's open. It almost looks like the hands are different sizes. You see how small that hand is and then how wide that hand is. It is. This hand is bigger. So this hand here, tiny little nub, like it's literally less thick than this, right? If you see it there, all of his fingers cupping that. You look at here, and it's like as thick as this. So just a subtle thing, but this hand is definitely bigger. And guess what? They got more definition here. I'd prefer both hands to be this size. I really would. Practicality over realism. Just everybody has big hands. Everybody has different size hands. There can be people with big hands. I'm not against that. Texture here is great. Layers are nice and crisp. There's hard lines between each thing. The ridges in there are good. The beard is quite soft. I would have loved to see a little bit more texture here in the front. On the side it looks good, but right here, very, very shallow detail. So it'll look a little bit more like a blob and less textured unless you hand put in the detail there. Cloak on the back looks good. I like the little dangly things here. I'm happy with those. And this looks like it is an extra piece, but it was assembled quite well. There's a little bit of a gap here. I can almost stick that through there, but I'm okay with that. It's actually pretty good because, especially from the front, you can't tell at all, which is perfect. From the back, you can maybe tell a little bit. It's just like a ridge. When you paint it up, it's not gonna be that noticeable. I like that guy. Okay, this guy, very clear. This would be like a leather. You could put some slashes here with a highlight, it'd be good. I didn't comment about the textured base, but I appreciate the textured base, especially the bigger rocks on this one I like. Just kind of a very basic texture, but it works, and it's better than just a clear one. A little bit of a pore spout here, but it's nice and smooth, so it should be good. It'll still paint up well. They definitely have a lot of layers. The belts here are all separate. The buckles are barely defined. They're super tiny. Just very tiny. His hands, he does have fingers on both of them, and it looks to be the same size. Big old blacksmith's hammer. Those things are mean. When people talk about... All right, fine. Okay, I found them. When people talk about blacksmith's hammers, that's the size you're talking. I mean, it's huge. It looks like a weapon. The chain here turned out very well. I'm happy with the chain. Gauntlet here looks good. Or like an studded armband. The pants look very interesting. I like that. It's a kind of an interesting texture to them, how it's folded, which is kind of unique. The hair, again, very shallow detail. There's not really, it's going to look like a solid thing. There's not really individual hair to do, which is funny because the mustache and beard almost they're smaller and have more texture than his hair. But is what it is. Otherwise, I think this looks good. He does have a mold line going over his head, but fairly small. The cleanup here isn't going to be too bad. Cleanup here looks like it's going to be pretty minimal. All right, this guy, he's ready to go farming or killing people. I can't tell which exactly. I love how he's holding it. I think that's really, really cool. He's definitely going to look cool there. Again, the texture here, you hear that? The texture here looks cool. It's going to paint like crap. And what I mean by that is, if you look at this, with these big creases in here, and even the kind of the fairly deep cuts here on the texture itself, the wash will be able to sit through there. This texture here is like wash resistant. It's just the wash is not going to show this up quite well. I don't think. I could be proven wrong, but I do have my doubts on a wash on this. If nothing else, you won't be able to dry brush it effectively. You'll dry brush it, but it may as well be smooth, right? You're going to get this texture, and I'm worried it might actually make it look a little messy. Well, I'll have to see. I'll have to paint them up and see, I guess. Love his style of hair, though. I like this texture that they did. It actually showed up quite well. And I really, really dig it. I like it more than the strand hair, the like kind of tufts of it. His beard looks good too. He's got an eyebrow ridge. He's got cheeks. He's got a nose. Very happy with that. The wood is a little shallow. I would love to see a little bit more grain because wood with a wash can look fantastic, and this just is too shallow for that. So I would love to have seen the wood be a little bit more. It doesn't seem to be bent. A lot of times these will get bent, but this seems pretty good. Yeah, overall, I like this miniature. A few worrisome parts on this one, right? Like I'm worried this is just for looks, not for painting. This is not really for looks or painting. But then I have the hair and the beard and mustache that are all great. And just the overall design. I like that he's looking to the side a little bit and he's moving that kind of around his body. His torso's twisted with it. Really, really cool. And that dude is ripped, by the way, too. All right, and then the one female lady here. I have no idea what this is on her. It looks like a blobby mess. What's it supposed to be? What the heck am I looking at there? Is it supposed to be a plant thing? Is that what it is? Sure doesn't look like it. Okay, apparently these are plants, I guess. Yeah, that to me this doesn't look like anything. It looks like a blob. I would have loved to have seen a bit more detail. Like, what's going on here? Why is it so smooth here, and then textured here, and then smooth here again, and then smooth here? Like I'm almost worried I got a misprint. It just the crispness of her here compared to the blobbiness of this is quite stark. Don't really like that, and I know it's a different piece, right? Because this is all like it looks like probably ABS. It's a little bit more rigid. That I can feel. It looks like it's attached here. So it's attached really well. It's attached all along this arm. So just where the shoulder is. And attached at the bottom here, which is smart. I like that she's all the way at the back of the base, moving forward. She's definitely pretty bent and ready to go. The satchel and everything else look good. Even her hair actually is probably one of the best hair out of the group. I think she has good hair. Her hand's pretty good too, actually. A little bit of maybe some stubby fingers, especially that thumb, but otherwise okay. This looks to be a little shallow detail, but this, I can make it work, right? You know, it's supposed to be mossy and green. I can do that, but it looks kind of odd to me. All right. Next guy. This dude looks freaking sweet. Love how his stuff goes all the way to the bottom. A little bit of a rough glue job there. I'll clean it up a little bit. I like the cuts, the slashes here. That's cool. The four arms are cool. I like that it's not symmetrical really. That these are lower and this is higher. But this is higher on this side and this is kind of farther back over on the other side. Texture here looks good. Okay, again, so right here, this texture around here is so fine detail that it's not going to really show up. By the time I prime it and paint it and wash it, I don't think you're going to get this at all. It may as well be smooth. In fact, I'd almost prefer to be smooth. I could paint it easier then. We'll have to see how that works, but it's super fine detail. Armor up here looks cool. Face looks good. It'll take a wash fairly well. These are good here. I like that. Underneath the armor looks fine. Yeah, I like this miniature overall. The texture here, same thing. I think this will show up. These are a little bit thicker. This right here, I suspect will need some fake highlighting to be able to pop it out. The kind of halberd or whatever he's got here looks great too. And then you have these three. So I'm not going to look at like all three per se, except to note that this guy, you can stick stuff through, which is kind of cool. Just a neat idea for a miniature to be completely open there. That being said, with the arm wrapped over it, it's going to be very hard to do OSL. So ideally, I would love to like make it like glowing up here. And I think I still can. What I'll do is I'll do some white highlights or whitish highlights and then do a colored wash like the yellow wash from Citadel perhaps or something like that. Or an orange even. It looks like we got some kindles here. Great OSL effects that you can do there. We got some rock. We got some texture. It's almost like they're coming out of the rock. And actually, look at that. They are coming out of the rock, which is cool. Definitely some muscle look to them there. Rope is nicely detailed. I'm not really seeing any melty parts there.
The chain is good too. I like the chain. Some soft transition here between the fabric and the rock or tree or whatever. It's very smooth and kind of all one thing versus a hard line. Same here, though it looks like that's a protrusion there. Maybe it's just the cloth here kind of blends and dyes. There's not really a solid line here. Painting, you could paint it in though. But yeah, I like these. I like the skull inside. Those are cool. I like the texture. A lot of it will take a wash, I think, quite well. Great. Chains here still. The face back here is cool. This whole person back here is cool. Yeah, I really like these. These look awesome. These are definitely a highlight. That being said, painting inside here is going to be so hard in all of these. All right, guys, that's the miniatures. That's everything you get. I will put it on a turntable, and you'll be able to see the rest. And I will talk to you on that side. Oh, wait, before we go. So this is how that works. And it just kind of fits in there. And you should be able to turn it like so. And it seems to work pretty darn well. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, so just a little bit of a lip enough to where you can't really pop it out. Said you'd have to do that. Perfect. All right, now I'll talk to you over on the other side of this video. All right, guys, and here are the miniatures in their kind of full glory here. Really good lighting up close. This is probably about as good as you're going to ever see these miniatures unless you record it yourself, just because even sticking it in your face, I think you're not going to get the lighting on this, if nothing else, nonetheless the size. And what can I say? I mean, they stand up to it, right? I mean, they look really, really nice. I talked a little bit about some of the textures, and I think her staff is kind of the only thing I'm not happy about. It just looks like a melted blob, and like I don't even see a single leaf there as far as I'm concerned. But otherwise, I think the scale seems to be pretty good. You know, I talked a little bit about his hand, but otherwise, yeah, I'm liking the textures, and the poses seem interesting. I like a lot of the assembly. I think some of it looks maybe perhaps a little chunky. Just a little bit like some things just seem a little fat. Like that lantern that the dude's holding just seems a little thick, and like the sidewalls. Like I've never seen a lantern that had sidewalls that thick before. Granted, you kind of need to thicken some things like that, but it just looks a little chunky. I like this guy's boots here too. I think it just kind of gets like that sometimes. But pose-wise, I'm happy with them. I like the textured bases. I'm glad they did that on all of the miniatures here. That's definitely a plus in my mind. And yeah, I think once you paint them up, they'll look 10 times better too. I think I wouldn't mind painting any of these except perhaps the chick, just because I hate dealing with kind of a lack of detail. It is kind of unfortunate, like this guy here with his like metal shield thing in the center with that super fine detail. It's cool that they can get the fine detail. It's useless when it comes to painting. It won't really hold a wash. You can't highlight it very well. It just kind of is too small, right? And so you kind of need to I speak a lot about miniatures and about the level of detail you need, because you can put too much detail in a miniature. We're at a point with the technology, even with PVC and ABS plastic, where we can fit and cram so much detail into these things. It's insane. It's impressive. It's impressive that they can get that detail there. It's also kind of useless. So there's a fine level or a fine line between too much detail and not enough detail. Especially when it comes to painting. If there's so many details, it takes forever to paint and you get kind of annoyed with it. But you don't want too few details either. You want kind of a happy medium between them. For the most part, I think these match them. Now, these here, again, fantastic. I like how their skull faces are not centered. That, you know, they're not all just looking straight down. That guy's kind of to the side and everything. The multiple arms is cool. The crisscross is cool. It's super hard to paint, I imagine. I wouldn't, you know, like painting his chest while he's covering it up. That can be kind of difficult. But I like the ropes. The chains turned out well. These are probably my favorite. I like that. The sword there looks like a snake. It's kind of a little bit bendy. I would have liked the swords to maybe be ABS. Just because they're so front and center, if nothing else, right? It just, yeah, I would have preferred them to be a little straight. And this guy, so my daughter looks at it and is like, are those female? I don't know why she asked that, like on the box, you know, you see it on the box. And I'm looking at this guy's sword. I think that one's male. But the rest, maybe they're female. I don't know. I told her without even looking at this, I was like, I don't know, they're statues or whatever you want. But that other guy's definitely a male statue. Just because it's bent out a little bit, and anyway. But as you can see, the swords front and center. It would have been nice to make those nice and crisp and well done. Now everything here is old and worn and weathered, and so the swords shouldn't be crisp and like new swords. I get that. It's the more of the bent issue, I think, for me, more than anything. I would have liked them fairly straight instead of poking out like that, guys. Assembly's great, by the way. I don't know. I didn't really mention that, but the assembly on all of these, really good. I'm happy with all of them. None of these had an issue with assembly at all. These were 100% solid when it came to assembly, and I'm happy with that. Yeah, detail-wise, I think weathering these up and making them nasty and dirty would be really cool. Adding the grime and the muck and the mud and all that. It would just be neat. His knee bent out, by the way. Like, I don't know, we're gonna have to do some kind of weird painting there because it's solid, right? It's not like his knee, see how it's solid with the knee bent out? And so obviously his knee isn't that thick. So there's something else going on there that, I mean, conveniently it's just for the plastic, but you could paint it like something, right? Especially with these. Alright guys, that's all I have. I've talked enough. I could talk about miniatures all day, you know that. Yeah, I'm excited to try this game out, so I'm going to try it out. Let you guys know what I feel about it and a review, so be looking forward to that. If you want to see more unboxings and Kickstarter details and reviews and all that kind of stuff, be sure to subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons. They make these possible. The fact that I'm doing 3 videos this week is thanks to them. And with that, I'll talk to you soon.